Greetings, everyone. Today is March 5, 2026, and this is the Evan Studios Divine Cast, where we interview devs for entire games. And this is episode 5. Well, technically it's episode 4, but we messed up the we messed up the episode count a few episodes ago. So today with me, we have a longtime friend, someone that started creating games shortly after I did, and a lot of you already know who he is. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of you are excited to hear about what he's been doing since. Well, a lot of you would have expected the game to be out by now. But you know how life is. I'm sure there were a lot of reasons for Yummy to still be working on the game today. And guess what? You guys get to ask all the questions. So without further ado, with me today I have YummyTiger from YummyTiger Games. How you doing, brother?
How you doing? Not too bad.
Okay. So I already got the people on chat waiting to get the podcast started. I already explained more or less what we're going to do today. I'm going to throw some quick fire questions at you from a list that I would say it's probably the most comprehensive list that I thought of. Like, let me try to get behind a developer's mindset, or more like what kind of questions people ask me throughout the my time as a developer, where I thought, that's actually a good question. So I actually want to see what gets a developer to start going into the adult game industry, and what makes them develop the games in the way they chose to develop. Does that make sense to you?
Sense to me. Sounds good.
Okay, I'm going to start right away with the first question. Which is the most obvious one, which is, can you walk us through the moment you were first introduced to the world of adult games or visual novels, and what specifically about that experience drew you in?
Well, we're going back a little ways, so I don't know if I remember exactly the first experience. I mean, I remember early on, like, getting interested in kind of anime and then in Japanese culture and that kind of stuff. And I know the game that really I played that I was like, well, this is awesome, was Virgin Island. That one was the one that I played and was thinking, this is a good game. I like the context. I like the fact that it wasn't just like watching adult scenes. There was an actual story behind it. There was context. I don't know. It gave it more meaning. And I had been writing prior to that, so kind of that inspired me to say, can I do this and make something with my own kind of flair to it? And that's really kind of the first time I could think of where I was thinking, I'm going to try to make a game.
You said that you've been writing, but what do you mean by writing? Were you writing smut? Were you writing already? Did you already have like a concept for a game that you wanted to create? And Virgin Island?
No, I was just writing smut. Like I was Literotica and ASSTR, I think, was another one. Like back in the day, I didn't use that one too much, but Literotica had some stories on there, and I don't know, just kind of I enjoyed the world building the scenes, and writing was kind of one of the things that I had done. The other aspects of game development are things I've learned along the way, but writing was always one that I've done more throughout my life.
Where were you doing all this writing? Were you sharing it online? Were there some forums or some websites where you were showing your content, or were you just doing that in private?
Yeah, it was mainly in private. I mean, I have studies on. I mean, I have stories on Literotica, so there's stuff under YummyTiger on there. Just some unfinished. The two things that are finished, but there's a couple unfinished things. Imagine that on there. But yeah, I don't know. I that's kind of what started. And as I was writing those stories, I'm thinking this would be more powerful as a game. So once I had played some of the games, that's when I kind of tried to shift from writing in the stories and shift to actually putting it into a game, which is a pretty decent shift given that you have to write differently for a game since you can't just write in paragraphs and kind of write your whole story. You have to start planning the dialogue better and how to break it up and put it into the systems and stuff like that. So there was a definite transition when I wanted to create a game and I couldn't just write out a story, and I had to write it in a way that it would work in game format, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, to me it does. I hope it does make sense to other people. So Virgin Island is the game that actually built it on a way that you looked at it. You're like, oh, I want to emulate this system where there's this nice world building and these characters and this premise and the way the scenes develop in the game. Virgin Island for you was the one that put it all together and we're like, oh man, this is nice when it's done
I,
correctly.
I would say Virgin Island was probably the biggest one. Scale Garden stuff early on as well was interesting, although his style of corruption was a little different than I would prefer. But I really liked Virgin Island. I thought it was a great game.
Yeah, that's pretty much that's pretty much the what was to me the Triforce of anti games that actually made me go like, man, I really want to do this. Will probably be like Virgin Islands, the Scale Gardens games, and probably like Magica at the time, because of the way because of the world building and the way the corruption happened on those games.
Absolutely.
So was there a particular game or moment that caused a trigger that made you decide to stop consuming adult games and start dedicating your time to creating your own? Was Virgin Island the one that made you go like, now I need to start making games and just drop smut? Games is what I want to do.
I don't know if there's a moment, and I would say I definitely haven't stopped consuming games. I still play games and enjoy them very much.
Well,
so,
just consuming to also develop.
Yeah. I I don't know if there was a particular moment, because I played Virgin Island, I played some other games, and I just was thinking as I was playing them, I would do this scene differently. Not that what they were doing was bad. I was just some of the ways that I would envision things going. I was like, I would do it this way, and it would be really really hot if it happened in this fashion. So I'm like, well hell, why don't I just try to make a game and do these things? And so that was kind of, I don't know if it was just a moment. It was just kind of over time. I thought I really want to try to do this and put my vision out there for kind of how this scene would progress and how this whole process would go.
Funny how similar that is from my own story.
Yeah,
it's literally what happened. Like I just started, just translating games and adding stuff to the games and going, man, I do this different. And then eventually, I was like, man, why don't I just make my own game?
It's I do think we have similar viewpoints in this. Talking to you, I feel like there's some similarities. I will say I only did like 2 translations, and the one translation I did, I made changes and people didn't like it. So I was like, well, I definitely don't want to be making changes if people aren't going to like it. So I will just make my own game and not go that route, because I was like, I could add a scene here, I could do a little thing, not like change the developer's vision, but kind of just expand on this. And
that's what I did.
I thought it was good, but it did not go over as well.
yeah. I mean, people will always complain about something. Always. You can't please Greeks and Trojans at the same time.
Absolutely.
So before diving into adult game development, I know you already said that you used to write for Literotica, but what kind of work or creative background did you have in like arts, programming, writing, modding, actually experience in RPG Maker, for instance?
I mean, I had no experience in programming in RPG Maker when I started. Writing, I had fairly decent amateur experience. I was just writing on my own, but I wrote pretty frequently, and seemed to be fairly decent at it. I could write a decent amount pretty quickly. Art-wise, I had art classes in high school, and I had done some art. My family has a little bit of art background, because both my brothers and my mom can draw, so I figured that would be fine. But then I did a couple online tutorials, just kind of figuring out how to use digital programs to do art, and I will say that I early on, especially, definitely had to use reference material and really kind of build from that.
Everyone does.
It took a long time. It still takes a long time, although there's ways that make it a little bit faster. But I would say that art has just been the thing throughout this whole process that probably has grown the most.
Hmm.
And it's frustrating because that's also the thing that as the art improves, you look back at your early stuff and you think, I don't want to put this out anymore, and then you redo it, and then your art improves more, and you go back to the same. Like that's a vicious cycle, which I'll probably talk about later when it's like advice to other developers. But those skills that you start with that are really weak and they grow, I feel like that is the challenge in not trying to go back in time and fix the issues you had early on, maybe just kind of pushing forward. But prior to this, writing was probably my strongest strength. Programming was probably my weakest, and art was kind of somewhere in the middle. And I've got like my audio stuff is super limited. I kind of commission that out if I can.
I didn't get the last part. What would you commission if you could?
I said well, I'd commission a lot more. If I go back in time, I'd commission a decent amount more stuff. But I said of the major things I can think of in game development, writing is probably the thing I feel strongest in. Art is in the middle. Programming is pretty.
No,
weak.
I got
audio,
that part, but
like,
audio.
yeah,
Okay,
the audio,
yeah, that's,
audio part
okay.
of it is like, I mean, I want to have music and things in there, but that's I don't have any knowledge in creating my own music, so.
And getting stuff off the internet, like royalty-free stuff and whatnot, is not for you.
Yeah. No, I do get stuff off of it. I've commissioned stuff in the past. There's just there's so much to making a game. Trying to do it solo is a huge undertaking because you need skills in so many different areas to pull it off.
Well, it depends on how much you want to personalize your game, but yes.
True.
And I agree 100% on what he said about becoming your biggest critic in a sense, and a lot of the stuff that he did a long time ago, and you possibly might have not even put it out yet, and then you look at it, oh, I don't want to put this trash out anymore.
Yep. And I'm a very perfectionist type of person, so I've been trying to learn to not do that in all aspects, like not just game development. You have to accept that good enough is good enough, because otherwise you just don't get anywhere.
Yeah. Well, you already said a few, but this question is kind of like, who were your biggest influences? I put growing up here, but it's, growing up as an artist, like, who were your artists, your favorite artists? And it doesn't have to be like for entire games. It might be like doujins. It might be like, who are your favorite writers in terms of like dialogue? What were the studios or the games or doujin circles, the ones that you were like, oh, I really like this one because of this? Which ones were the one that spoke the most to you?
That's tough. I don't know if I know the names of a lot of them. I mean, I brought up Virgin Islands, so obviously I liked that one, and I liked Scale Garden stuff. There was the group that does like the Ambrosia games and stuff. I like the way they do it, so I've taken some inspiration from there. Writing wise, I mean, I've read stories on like Literotica, and there's certain authors that I've like read their stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty solid. But I don't know that I've like really. I take inspiration from little pieces of things that I read, and then I like jot it down in a kind of a notebook, and I'm like, oh, that's a really good scene that they did, and I'm just going to jot this idea down and kind of try to integrate that in my way. But I don't know that it's like I definitely follow like the developer that does Ambrosia. I follow them to kind of, if they put out a new thing, I'll play it for sure. The guy that, or the team that does, I don't know if it's a guy or a team that did like the Princess of Zevin or whatever it was, I follow them, waiting for their new stuff.
I think it's just a guy. I don't remember his game yet.
What's that?
I think it's just one guy. The guy from Princess of Zevin. Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, I follow his stuff. So I mean, there's games that I look forward to for sure that if I see come out, I'm like, oh, I'm playing that one because that's gonna be. So, if that's considering following, I would definitely follow them. I'm subscribed to multiple patrons that I think are doing great work. Like the person that's doing which one here, like I have to look. I don't think I have it off the top of my head. Person like Secret Care Cafe, I think, is a pretty good one. There's like some of the waitress type stuff. That one's like a little bit of a 3D thing, so that may not be as popular as some people. Yeah, it's just I follow different things. I don't know that, as I said, I don't know that there's one like groups that I would say that are my biggest influencers. I just play games, and if I enjoy it, then I kind of take from it and see if I can integrate it myself, or just simply enjoy it.
Yeah, well, some of the circles that you mentioned, like the Shimobashida Workshop, the guys from Ambrosia, they also made like Antises and some other games like Magical Girls, Elesphonia, whatever. They've been
Yep.
around for a while. Same with the guy that did Princess of Zaven. I actually first found out about him with that really old Monster Girl game that he made.
Okay.
Yeah, those are definitely some devs that stood the test of the test of time. So I can see that some of your influences are like the really old school stuff.
Yeah, I do. I will say, like, the newer stuff I've been kind of getting into stuff that's got more of the animated scenes and things, which is really nice. But there's some limitations there that the amount of work involved. I think the guy that did Seven also has the Sword Girl game, which is really good as well.
Swords
I think
Woman
he
of
did that one.
Zephyr or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah, and that one was good too. He has a definite style, so I mean, not to, I don't want to like
Right.
talk bad about other developers, but his thing that kind of like, I like his style of like corruption, but the way he does it, where it's very kind of blocked off. Like, you need to go get this event to unlock this event that like unlocks the next section of events, and then they all do the same thing. And then I always kind of, that was probably the thing that I was like, wow, if I did this, I love the world he built. I love the story he's built here. I just wish there was more dynamic flow to it, where it's not like I have to go talk to the guys in Zevin. It's like I have to go talk to the guys on the beach, and the guys on the beach get her to do this, and now all of a sudden she's willing to do it to everybody, and then now I have to go talk to the guys on the beach again for the next section, and then now she's willing. So that like same kind of cookie cutter progression
Right.
system was probably the thing playing that I'm like, damn, this is a really good game. I just wish this part of it was a little bit differently, and that's when I say, well, again, if I want to do this, I should make my own game.
True. Well, I do give some credit to people that build games that way. Not necessarily in that way, but if you build games on somewhat of a linear fashion, you always make sure that the corruption is progressive instead of like a character. For instance, there are some games where you progress via route and not the character itself. So the character might be like, "Oh my god, I'm too scared to even kiss someone," while having anal sex with three dudes on a different route, and
I agree.
that makes like zero sense. So I'd rather play a linear game than a game that does corruption just incorrectly. You know?
Yep, I agree 100% with that. And yeah, I'm kind of talking in ideals here, so that in that
Right.
regard, I agree that the system put in place, it makes it easier to ensure that the player gets the best experience in terms of the corruption path if you in a realistic fashion, especially for a single developer, to try to like set up dynamic routes and
Right.
have them all play off of each other is a huge challenge as your game gets big. And his games are pretty damn big.
I
so-
think I think even for a studio with a lot of people and a considerable budget, it's still hard to create.
It is. I agree.
A game that is dynamic in that perspective, because you're really trying to you really have to gatekeep some content behind something, and
Yeah.
it's really easy to like lose track and have a character that is looking like a prude in a place and is already looking like a slut on a different place. So what I did for Fleeting Artists was create like stages of the game, and this is open at this stage, this is open at this stage, and even so, people still complain that the game is too railroaded. Some complain that the game is a little bit all over the place. It's really hard to create content that doesn't feel either linear or too dispersed to the point where a character can be a prude and a slut at the same time. But again, I also feel like it's one of those things where people will complain regardless.
Agreed. I mean, you can't, especially in this particular genre, like adult gaming, you can't please everybody because there's so many different fetishes and interests that it's not possible. You gotta like be able to brush off the critiques, because I mean, you should listen to good criticism, but you're gonna have pissed off people regardless.
Yeah,
There's no way not to.
agreed. So you already. I played the first two different versions you created for your game. So the next question is kind of for others. But when you decided to make your own game, why did you choose this particular genre, like the RPG story, corruption?
For sure, it's the context of an RPG game is the context and the ability to kind of lay out a story is why I chose it. I've so I've used RPG Maker quite a bit now, and I would say I'm fairly decent at it at this point. I've also been learning Godot now, so if I could go back, I might do things a little bit
Jesus.
differently. But for what I was what I was looking for, I grew up on the Final Fantasies and
Hmm. Same.
that type of game. So the RPG Maker design was comfortable, and I still like RPG Maker. I like the what it can allow people to do. I think the some of the critiques that
Oh, I love
it's
it.
this and that are
Despite the fact that I hate it.
what's that?
I love it too, despite the fact that I hate it.
Yes, yes. I think some of the critiques are just that it's because it's easy to get into, it's easy to create a kind of a cheap, easy game, and some of that brings down the overall. Like, it doesn't have to be a cheap, easy game though. Like an RPG Maker game can be a pretty damn good game, which has been shown. So I think the system in it, but you have to choose it. You have to kind of choose the right game for that system. So you need a game where there's like exploration and the exploration is worthwhile, and you need a game where there's like world building, and then RPG Maker can shine. If you're just doing a linear visual novel, though, and I've seen plenty of those, it doesn't. So I think that in terms of kind of why I chose this particular genre, I wanted to do a story with exploration, with world building, and allow some ability to not true open world because there's no way I could pull that off, but kind of player choice in some kind of player driven narrative where they can say, I want to go here before I go here, and I want to do this before I do this. So that was the reason I chose the genre and the engine was I was comfortable with it. I liked the style, and then I thought damn, this would be kind of cool as an adult game. And let's try to, I want that exploration aspect and I want that player kind of initiative aspect that RPG Maker can allow me.
For
And it
you,
was
sorry,
somewhat
sorry.
easy to get started on. Go ahead.
I was gonna do like a follow up question on what you just said. Do you think that RPG Maker, so in comparison to other game creating softwares like RenP or well, obviously if you go to Unreal Engine and whatnot, obviously you can do whatever. But in comparison to softwares that are more turned to like visual novels, would you say that RPG Maker had an influence on you getting working on it? Was it just because you thought it would be easy to work on RPG Maker, or do you think that the aspect where you can create a certain world or you can create like a certain immersion for the character by with the whole top down map making, using the right lights, the right effect? Because you said this is probably like a very convoluted question, but you said you're a big fan of Virgin Island. You said that you're also a fan of other games where I see that where the world building and the range time that the devs put into the game is really important. And you specifically mentioned Final Fantasy, which is I'm also a huge fan. I started on Final Fantasy VII, which had a very grim, kind of like steampunk feeling to the game, where
Yeah.
it wasn't just the music, it wasn't just the maps. Like I feel the remake is really good, but it lost some of that somberness. A lot of that. The world is dying around you, where everything felt a lot more real, and it felt like they tried to cheer it up to please a different crowd or a bigger crowd. And in RPG Maker and Thai games, it definitely feels like if you do a really good job, the setting around the story also tells a story where it's the maps or the lighting or the music or whatever it is. Do you think that what that had like a big part of why you chose RPG Maker, or is that not very important to you? It's just like something that is
No, I
secondary.
that is a big part. And I actually forgot I did create a game in RenPy prior to RPG Maker. That was actually where I started was RenPy. And it kind of got started, but I realized one, that was like early artwork and I hadn't gotten very good at it. And then I kind of, as I was using RenPy and I was creating a visual novel, I realized this is not really what I want my game to be. So I kind of shelved that one and just kind of set it aside. And then I started RPG Maker, and I was much happier with moving around the map, exploring, having the world building, the context, that player initiative, as I said. So yes, that the system was more comfortable, and I really like it. I also like the fact that with RPG Maker, one thing that I think is kind of undervalued a little bit is letting the environment tell stories. So because you can create a map for the person to explore, and if you put effort into the map, you can put little details in there that world build just visually. So it doesn't have to have a dialogue attached to it or anything. You like look at a map and you see dilapidated buildings and you see um, stuff over here, and that tells part of the story in itself. And you can do that in a visual novel with backgrounds, but I don't know that it carries the same weight. Um, in Alias story, you like walk through the forest and there's bones on the ground, and that's part of like the way those are set up tells part of the world and what's going on. And I mean, you can do stuff that you can't. I don't know that you can do as easily in a visual novel setting that I really like. As from kind of the writer background, I want to build a really interesting world that that the game's still driven by other aspects, but I want it to be the strong foundation that those games build on, so that when it gets to the adult scenes, you care. Like you actually give a shit about what's going on, and you're like, oh, hell yeah, this is finally happening. So it's so much more powerful in my mind than just watching pornography. And in fact, I've always been a person that is more interested in like foreplay and stuff in pornography because of the build up. I think is almost always better than the payoff because I like the context and the stuff that's involved in the build up more than the end result. Even though the end result's always good, it's just kind of that build up and that slow process of getting to that end result is like that is where it's at for me. So if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. Like that's kind of what I was alluding to, because it feels to me like if you do a really good job, and I can definitely say that you have, a game becomes very holistic, in which the things get tied together. It's everything interconnected. It's everything is like becomes bigger than the sum of all its parts, because if the context is great and the dialogue is great and the story is great and the map is great and the lighting is great and the song is great, it then starts kind of like metamorphosing into something a lot more than just an entire game. It kind of feels like you are really experiencing those things, and that's where I feel like a doujin or a visual novel don't quite get that the RPG Maker thing gets. Like a lot of people
I agree.
play games kind of like, oh, let me just fire up Pornhub. And sure, there's a story and there's some dialogue and the characters look good and that's it. That's what they look for it. But I really want a compelling story that I get like committed to it, where I can actually feel things, where I can actually feel excited, where I actually feel immersed into the game. You know what I mean?
I 100% know what you mean.
And yeah, that's why I asked the question that I asked, because I feel like RPG Maker does that for a single developer. Obviously, there's people doing crazy stuff on like Unreal Engine and whatever, but for someone that is already drawing and creating audio and dialogue and everything else, RPG Maker is like, okay, there's some very decent results that you can get on this without sinking in your entire lifetime on it. You know what I mean?
Agreed. Although
So-
I'm getting close to sinking my entire lifetime. I think we're
Yeah.
10 freaking years in, so it's getting there. Give me time.
I mean, hey man, I'm going to my well, technically third and fourth games, and time is never enough. And honestly, as you get older, it's just you might get better, but it's very very taxing. It's very very taxing.
Yep. Agreed.
So I guess that kind of answers my sixth question that I had for you. So in regards for character design philosophy, mostly Aaliyah, can you detail the philosophy behind your main character? Like, what is the narrative reason the character looks the way they look, and how does that inform their personality and sexual dynamic? Like Aaliyah is kind of like, she's an elf, obviously. Or at least she alludes to be an elf, and she's kind of like an innocent elf, and from a time point where the player doesn't initially know exactly where she comes from. Why did you pick an elf? Why did you pick a character that looks the way she does, and all those things?
Well, I wanted, well, one thing I wanted for sure was I wanted kind of a fairly strong and confident main character. I did not want them, I wanted them to be naive for the world that they're in, which would lead to the opportunity to create kind of fun scenes, but I didn't want them to be stupid naive. So she's not stupid naive. Like she is confident. She comes from a time in the past which was dramatically different than the current situation. She's a novelty, so people are going to be very interested in her just simply from the fact that she's a novelty, and she doesn't know the current kind of state of the world and the things that go on, so she's going to be reliant to kind of learn that. But she can learn it in a way that's not like the dumb bimbo, which is fine if that's your jam, that's great. That's not really what I wanted here. I wanted a kind of a more confident main character that is susceptible to certain situations because of her being naive in certain ways, but it's not because of her being dumb. And in kind of the elf, the blonde elf, I don't know, that was just kind of um, where things went with that one. I did want her to have a decent body. Like I'm a breast guy, so I wanted her to have breasts. I mean, that's kind of so part of the design thing. I wanted her to be kind of fit. She is a person that can fight, so in that regard, I wanted her to be on the taller side, but not as tall, like not like dramatically taller than people in the world. And I've got the heights for different characters all kind of planned out and things. That was kind of the idea was have her wake up in a world that she doesn't fully understand what's going on, and she has to learn it as she goes. I did also want her to have a little bit of the aloof personality because when back in when she was around, they were basically the dominant race, and now they don't really exist anymore, and she doesn't fully know why, and that's part of like the main story and figuring out what's going on there, but that was it, kind of that aloof personality, but she's also naive, so she's got to figure out how to get through. And then I will say that the goblin elf dynamic was something that I had read on a story in Literotica, that there was a guy who wrote kind of a thing about a paladin and a goblin, which I kind of liked the story, and I was thinking I like this setup. I wouldn't do it the way he did it, but I like this setup. So I wanted to have this kind of lecherous goblin with her who's just kind of a horny bastard that is not vicious in any means, but he definitely is kind of always pushing her in ways that she may not go on her own. But I also am struggling because I want to have situations where he's not around, so I've already got that set up in there so that there are times where it's just her, and you don't always have to deal with kind of the horny goblin at her side. You can kind of go through scenes and things where it's just her, and then he kind of gets picked up and put back in the party later.
That kind of explains it more. Like I thought you would just say, "Oh no, I just like the elves."
No, I had a whole idea behind this.
Oh, also, guys, I feel like it's better to say this before people ask. YummyTiger's profile picture on the that you can see on the background is not really his art. It was a rendition the artist from Evan Studios did way back when from his character Elia. But his game is there's like two public versions of his game. So if you do want to check it out, you probably can go either support him on Patreon or Subscribestar. I think. What are where are your?
I only have Patron right now. I figure I'm not
Okay.
creating a Subscribestar until I actually get another release out. And I will say, if people want to get the game, you can subscribe to Patron. It does not get charged. I'm grandfathered in until they make me change it. I'm not going to charge anybody until I actually get another release out because it's been ages. Uh, so it's kind of like I'm working towards it, but it's been a kind of rebuilding and things multiple times. But yes, you can subscribe, you can get it. There, I have an itch.io page where you can download it for free.
Hmm.
I think the last release was 2022. It was the RPG Maker MV version, which is what I'm building on now. So you can just search for it and get it on itch.io, and I can share that link, and then you can download it for free. That's probably the easiest way if you just want to try the game.
Well, this question also gets kind of moot because I was going to ask you how did you approach to writing the sex scenes, and if they were central to the gameplay or they were just a bonus. And obviously, considering that you were already doing the writing, you were like, oh, let me just put a game around it, right? Instead of just making the scenes become like pure fan service.
Yeah.
So it's obviously that the plot critical moments and character development are important to you.
Yeah, I thought about this from the very, very beginning. I wanted to build a game that was revolved around the adult content, not a game that had adult content. So everything in the game was built around this idea of the adult content and kind of her character development, other character development, and then kind of plot critical moments as it changes, as you kind of got written in the question. But yes, I wanted to make that paramount because I mean I wanted to make a porn game. I'll be honest. I wanted it to be a game that was kind of exciting to play, and those scenes were integrated into the quest lines. I did not want a bunch of like fetch quests and a bunch of things that like were detrimental to the experience. I just wanted it to be very kind of a tight core loop of a game where you as you go on a quest, you can be pretty damn confident that there's going to be some kind of adult content, whether it's minor or major, and kind of build from there. So in writing the sex scenes, I've got scenes written. I don't have them input in the game, but I've got scenes written where it's kind of like I want that growth to be evident that as she becomes more comfortable, as she kind of learns kind of different things in the world, as maybe Bogwart the Goblin convinces her things are certain ways in the world, you see that character growth, and it makes these scenes that much more intense versus just the random like, oh, they're gonna have sex now and move on type of scene where it's like, oh, it is nighttime, they're gonna have sex, and the next day they wake up and the game continues. I really don't want any of those scenes. I want them to all be tied into the gameplay and kind of have like context that matters. Even if there's fewer scenes, I'm kind of a quality over quantity guy.
Well, I usually see the difference like between games. I usually give an example of you probably played Sarah's Life from way back when. The game that I usually use as the perfect bad example of a game that is mostly just sex scenes that should be that it's not even could, but it should have been done as a visual novel because the RPG Maker is just buggy and there's really no world building. It's literally just taking you from point A to point B, where clearly the sex scenes are the major plot point of the game, and everything else is just to tie scenes together, or the complete opposite, which is Subverse, where like 99.9% of the game is actually the gameplay, and then you unlock some points, and when you unlock some points, you can go to a gallery and unlock the scenes there, which kind of becomes like the scenes were an afterthought. Obviously, they thought of
Yeah.
it as an entire game, but instead of the scenes tying to the plot, it's just something that you unlock as an afterthought. You know what I mean?
And
Um,
I lose interest in those games pretty quickly. Like I mean the scenes after a certain point I stopped even caring to unlock them. And so for me, I guess that's what I didn't want to do. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I almost need there to be some kind of a
Organic.
contextual thing that matters. Yeah, organic part of the story for it to matter. Otherwise, I could just go watch porn and be
Correct.
fine.
Right.
Go
Yeah.
watch a
I
video
feel
and
exactly
it's
the same
thing.
about it. Yeah. So that was my point. Like, obviously, some people just want to like quick fire scenes. Some people download games like yours and they go straight to the CG room. And some of the CG rooms don't even they aren't even built correctly to the point where you don't even understand context. It's just literally the image
Yeah.
is running, and it's basically just it's just a gallery. That's all the game is to them, right? And
Yep. That
Subverse
drives
is,
me crazy, by the way. So
huh?
if there is a good game and you go into the CG room and it doesn't have the lead up before the scene, I freaking hate that.
Yeah, it's probably trash.
It's like give me the entire scene, not just the small portion that was sex. I want the build up and everything. Otherwise, I have to create a separate save game to go back to that save game and play the scene
Exactly.
originally because the gallery sucks ass and wasn't able to cover what it needs to be covered. And
Exactly.
it's not
I
like it's
mean,
hard. Like just create the whole scene in the gallery, not like copy the whole scene. Don't just copy the scene or the pictures itself.
or
Yeah,
or
I know
or
what you're talking about.
or people can do what I did. Like I had some scenes where the context doesn't take too long, so I just put them in the CG room. But if the context is kind of big, what I usually do is I put the whole context in there, and then I ask the player when they go to watch the scene, do you want to see the scene from the beginning or just from the entire part? And then the player can select
Absolutely.
if they want to see the whole context, right, or if they just want to see
Yep.
the juice of the thing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, and that's not a hard thing to do. Like that
It's not.
actually, development-wise, is a pretty easy thing. If you're setting the gallery up already, it's really not that hard to create a choice and put that in there. Since you've
It's
already got
it,
the scene written, it's just
exactly.
copying it over
It's
or
almost
linking
just
back
copy
to it.
paste the whole event and just take the parts that are not
Exactly.
important.
Exactly.
So yeah, obviously, you agree to the part where everything needs to be contextual and everything needs to be tied up together. Because if you go too much on one side and you get the Sarah's Life, basically just the glorified gallery unlocker, or the Subverse where it's just like 90% game, you're playing like a flight simulator mixed with like XCOM, and then you just
Yeah.
unlock some scenes on the side. Like if you take it too much to just porn or just game, it kind of gets lost. At some point, it's like, what am I
Agreed.
doing, man? I came here to have a good time, and I'm here stressing about the killing aliens. What the fuck?
Yep. Yep. I agree.
I mean, I'm not saying that the game shouldn't have like great gameplay, right? But I mean, it should tie up the great gameplay and the great sex and it should tie up. Like this happens because of this. There's a consequence. It's not just like, oh, there's a gate game and there's also anti. No, it needs to tie up together. Else it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Agreed.
Uh,
I 100% agree.
so this obviously answers the question to how do you approach writing the sex scenes, if they are central gameplay to game or just a bonus, right? But
Yep.
were there any fetishes or kinks you specifically wanted to include that in the game that you've never seen done well before, or to the way that you would like to see it done?
I mean, this will tie a bit, I think, into the next question, talking about the key mechanic as well. But fetish is the key. Like I guess I'm probably more of a vanilla guy in some aspects that I'm happy with just like sex and blowjobs and things like that. I don't have any like crazy kinks. I am trying to include a couple things like um, I put like a scene in there with like feet and stuff like that, which is not really my jam, but it's not the end of the world. So I do try to like cover my bases, but in terms of like the primary thing, I'm my kink is the corruption aspect. My kink is the
Mm.
person like having the main character that is slowly more and more willing to do kind of more explicit stuff. And the build up itself is what I kind of want to see. I'm a huge blowjob guy, so
Hmm.
in terms of that, I'm sure that my game's going to have a decent amount of BJs throughout. So I I'm not going to apologize for it. It's just the way it is. I that's kind of one of the things I want to include in there. So there's plenty of that. I've already actually, assuming the next release ever makes it to the public, which hopefully it will sooner rather than later. I've already got some scenes in place now, finally, that to be some action to see. Um, yeah, I think without going too much into the next question, I think that's kind of it's more of the corruption and the buildup, and that's kind of my fetish. And I think that the content itself is going to be vanilla in terms of the crazy shit you can find online. I'm not gonna have like armpit stuff. I'm not gonna have like
Hmm.
crazy scat and pee and that stuff. I mean that's not my jam. I mean I don't care. Like if that's your jam, that's I truly man do whatever makes you happy. But I don't want to draw it. I don't really want to kind of write it. It's not. I don't feel like if I try to write fetishes, I don't care about it. I don't feel like they're gonna have the same emotion and in the. I won't care enough to write them well.
Hmm.
Um, so I will be writing a game that has, as I said, a person that is kind of slowly willing to do more things, and I mean by the end of it, she's gonna have given a shit ton of BJs, and she's gonna have done a lot of like pre stuff, and it'll be in my mind it'll be like, damn, that's what I wanted to see. I wish I could have played this game not written by me so I could enjoy it a little differently, but hopefully the people that do play it'll be like, fuck yeah, that was awesome. That's kind of where I want to see at some point.
That kind of answers my what was going to be my follow-up question, because I was going to be, so what are your big absolutely no-go? And you already mentioned that you won't be any scatology or water sports or whatever.
Nope.
But I agree. To go a little bit on a tangent, I created Fleeting Hours, and then I decided to do the DLCs. And first, I tried to do the the bestiality one, and that shit flopped because honestly, I'm not good at it. I'm not good at writing it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I did a really good job, a really bad job, and some of it might not be even realistically accurate. And then when it came to do the whole the Shota patch and characters having sex with their moms and whatnot, I did so much research. I read so much about it. I read the craziest stories. There's literally forums online for people that want to tell stories about how they fell in love with their sons and whatnot, and how they took that stuff into into actually doing stuff. I read a lot about it. I tried my best, and thankfully it landed and people really enjoyed it. But honestly, I feel like it's not even that devs, because some people forget that it's not just devs are humans at the end of the day. So it's not even just about a dev not wanting to write a certain type of thing. Is that you're asking someone to be able to sexualize something that they don't see as sexual, or they don't find arousal. It's like, hey, dude, you know what? I really love seeing chicks having sex with bicycles. Can you make a scene where she has sex with a bicycle? And I'm looking at it like, yeah, sure, there's handles in there, but it's going to be a shitty scene. Like, I don't see what you see about it, right? So when I write about it, it's going to be a really shitty scene. It's just what it is. It's really hard for a dev to try to write for a fetish that he doesn't enjoy, or perhaps doesn't even understand. So
agreed.
What I usually say is, bro, like, there's so much content out there. I'm just going to focus on what I know how to do, and good luck with finding some other people that like to do that content, because I'm not good at it. I'm just going to end up wasting a lot of developing time drawing, writing, creating maps and whatnot for a scene that it's probably going to be ass, because I don't know how to make it good. Sometimes you just need to humble yourself and just be like, bro, just go enjoy someone else's stuff.
I agree, and you got to care. You really do have to care about the scene. The scene loses a lot of its kind of gusto if you don't care. Like, if you're just writing it to throw it in there, then it loses kind of the power that it could have.
Don't you feel like when you were younger and you had like a much higher libido, the scenes will just come out like the writing wouldn't be as good, because everything will sound sexual to you. Everything will seem sexual. Everything will sound great. But the scenes will kind of like flow. The dialogue between the characters will kind of like flow, because you are so like filled with testosterone where everything just flows. And as you get older, it's kind of like a cigar and some whiskey. You're introducing like some high quality writing with high descriptions and whatnot in there that make it more like visually appealing. Like, you can actually, it's more vivid. You read the story and it's more vivid, but it doesn't feel as raunchy, or it doesn't feel as sexual right off the bat. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I will say that I go through cycles. Like, if I play a good game that like I start playing, I'm like, oh, this is a good game. It like reinitiates that drive, and then the scenes start, like, I start churning out scenes. So I really have to like lean into those moments and start writing sex scenes and things, because yes, it'll kind of cycle down where I'm not finding anything online that's like getting me excited, and then at that point I don't think I'm churning out the same content, so that's when I need to work on other aspects. But yeah, I think the libido and kind of definitely drives it. Like, you can be on a kind of a horny moment and you start writing some pretty good shit, versus other times where it's a lot harder to kind of push that stuff out. So you definitely want to lean into those moments when you can kind of lean into the moments where that's your strength at that time, where it's like, this I'm feeling it right now. I can write this stuff, and And I would say don't, yeah, like if this is your passion, like if you like if you're interested in making these games and you actually like playing the games, don't stop playing the games. I stopped playing the
Right.
games for a while and I started playing them again. There's good stuff out there and that does truly help kind of help crystallize in your mind maybe what you want to do better and just kind of get you back in the mindset of let's do this, man. Let's write this game. Let's get this game done. Let's start get putting the work in. Um, because I feel like when I went like a couple years didn't play anything, it was kind of like I that was probably the time when my game made the least progress. I just kind of shelved it and was like, I'm not really interested in work on this right now. I'm not charging people, so I'm just gonna do other stuff. And when I started playing games again, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna fucking finish this game. So I think that matters.
That's a great suggestion right there. I definitely feel like, especially as you get older, you should like ride the wave when you're in a where you're like in a flow mind state where you're just like, oh, I really want to work on this right now and I want to do this and that. Don't postpone that, because those bursts usually they feed into the next burst and into the next burst. But if you drop it, you can't just like go and pick it up where you left it. That's not how it works. You need to, once you get into that mindset, once you get into that mood to actually develop, you need to get out there and start going hard on it, because that's what's going to feed the next moment and the next moment. And if you drop it for a second, it's really hard to get back at it.
Absolutely. And those are super productive times. Like I'll get
Exactly.
more stuff written in 6 hours in those moments than I will in the next 2 weeks combined. Like I
Uh
will
huh.
churn out 30 to 40 pages worth of shit in a single night as I'm like really in the moment, and then the next 2 weeks I'm like sitting there staring at a screen, writing a sentence here,
Right.
writing a sentence there, and it's like, dude, you have to write those. I don't even care how disciplined you are. I feel like you just have to write those. Now, one thing you can do that is more disciplined is set aside time and force yourself to work even if you don't feel like it. That's like the Stephen King thing with him in writing was kind of like he has a specific time every day he writes no matter what. But damn, if you're in a moment where shit is flowing, take it, use it, and don't let it go, man. Do it until until you force yourself, or you have to stop because you get so much done at that moment, and then you can go back and edit it later. Even
Right.
if you're writing kind of half-ass at that point, just get it on paper, get it on a document, and then go back and edit it later because the edited stuff is going to be even better. So as long as you've got the scene in place, you already have done like three-fourths the work. Just getting that fucking scene in place. Everything else after that becomes kind of the cherry on top.
So regarding game mechanics, what were the ones that were most important for you to include? Obviously, there's the big corruption part, but are there choice systems in the sense of like, does the game change a lot depending on the character choices? Is there a corruption meter that the player can actually see? Are there time cycles? Can you build relationships with like different characters and whatnot? Which are the mechanics that you feel like were a must include for your game?
So first mechanic that I wanted to do that I would say is going to be more unique to I haven't found a game that does it yet was the battle mechanic was I wanted so there was two aspects to this. One is I wanted to have a battle mechanic. So I like Virgin Island. I like the fact that she can be stripped. Like kind of the clothing can be destroyed in battle, and then you use an item and it magically repairs afterwards. What I wanted was a battle mechanic that had at least an aspect of realism to it. That the way that she gets exploited in battle makes sense. So initially she's got the dress and she's in battle and the dress is strapless the enemy can pull it down. So then that's a way to exploit her that makes sense. That's not just ripping up the clothes and then you use a magic sewing kit afterwards and then it comes back. I wanted a mechanic that had that, and then on top of that, I wanted to have outfits that were exploited in different ways. So kind of one of the core things that I went into designing this was I want a battle system. I want exploiting to happen in the battle system, and I want it to be something that makes sense. And then I want to have different outfits that get exploited in different ways. Now, that's a really big ask. Like when you look at all the things that are involved in creating this stuff, I didn't know going into. I mean, I had an idea it was going to be huge process, but it has been a like monstrous process to do this. and I've settled on there's only gonna be like 3 outfits because there's simply no way to feasibly, unless I want to spend another 10 years working on this, to feasibly get this in place where each outfit is going to have a unique way to be exploited. So the dress gets pulled down. Um, the next outfit, her lower half get
The
exploited.
potato sack.
So, well, the potato sack doesn't come back any time that I know of at this point. I might bring it back as kind of a funny thing at some point,
Aw.
um, but I was kind of that was kind of a one-off, just kind of a laughing thing as you kind of it starts off a little sexy and then has that whole thing in there. Um, but I don't know that she would ever end up back in the potato sack. I could make a joking thing at some point. We'll see. But yeah, I mean that I wanted that to be kind of the one of the core central mechanics was this battle system that has um, a unique way of exploiting it. And then I wanted to have the monsters or the creatures she's fighting to have unique scenes when they exploit her. So as I said, this is becomes a huge process because that's a lot of artwork, that's a lot of like setup. Again, my programming knowledge was limited, so getting a battle system in place was really challenging. And then user interface design. Holy shit, man. I have spent so much time designing user interfaces. I can't even describe how much like I never appreciated how much goes into a good user interface until I started building this game. And now like creating the battle scene, which I'm really happy with the way the user interface came out, but kind of putting that into place where all the information you need is there. It makes sense. You have ways of like bringing in cut-in graphics and stuff like that. So I want to have that system. I want to have different outfits. Each outfit is very quality in terms of it will have a different way of being exploited. It will lead to, even if you fight monsters in the past that exploited you with a different outfit, they will exploit it differently. So in compromising to that and learning that, I realized one, I can't have as many outfits. There's simply just no way I can do that. So if I do have outfits, they might be town specific, but you can't be going into battle in many outfits because there's too much work. And two, I can't have as many enemies because if I'm trying to do unique exploitations for each enemy, that again adds a crap ton of artwork and a crap ton of work. So I wanted to narrow that down to make it a very kind of concise core experience where when you see shit in battle, it's exciting because it's going to be new. It's not going to be something that is like, oh, this was the same scene that this other monster did. It's just a different monster. I want it to be different. Maybe the cut in for the pulling down the dress itself was kind of I used kind of a similar one where I just kind of changed the hand or the creature's tentacle or thing like that. But even then, it's things kind of change a little bit. But the actual cut in for the moment in battle when the monster attacks in that way kind of exploits her, then that will be different. So that was one of the core mechanics going in was have a battle system, and that's actually what I would say the primary. I'm putting quote signs up that you can't see, but primary gameplay mechanic is going to be the battling itself is going to be one of the kind of gameplay things. I don't want to have a bunch of mini games and stuff. I That's kind of where the player can go and experience um, some of that other content. And then past that, you've got the corruption, which we talked about. I didn't want to do just a straight corruption meter. I wanted to kind of have it more organic than that. There was another thing I was going to talk. Oh, the rivals stuff, which I guess one complaint I've always had with other games is that when you go a route that's more pure, there's not really a true pure route in Alia's story. It's you still will see scenes, but you can definitely keep it to the point where she's not getting taken advantage of very often. Um, but in those situations, I didn't want the player to play through the entire game and not really see anything. So that's where I wanted to have two or potentially three rivals. Right now, there's two that if she manages to go through a scene where or go through a kind of a quest or a scene setup where she does not get taken advantage of, they probably are the ones that get taken advantage of instead. So the downside to that is it means the game is you won't be able to see everything in one playthrough, which I know some people pisses some people off. It's definitely a game that to see everything you would have to play through multiple times. You'd have to kind of go through scene or go through setups where you make choices where she avoids the situation and then her rival Triss or Kira get thrown into those situations instead. So I think those are my two primary thing was to have rivals that can get exploited instead of her, and have a battle system that was really kind of a concise experience that was exciting to go through.
Well, uh, I was going to ask you two different things, and but one was more kind of like like a remark on what you said. So I'll just get that one out of the way. Because it's probably going to come out as a joke for you. You know how big Fleeting Iris is, right? Up to like 350 uniquely drawn scenes. People
That's huge.
People wanted me to do the game with Ayami being able to wear any dress at any point, and having them reflected on the entire scenes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Anyone that yeah.
I mean, what you currently have is insane. Like the amount of content is bonkers. From if anybody involved, even people not involved should kind of realize it. But anybody involved in making these, the amount of artwork and stuff is fucking crazy, man. It's like I can't believe how much artwork is in there.
Me neither.
It's a lot. You have so many. You already have a ton of outfits and a ton of different ways that she changes. I'm just like, from an artist standpoint, I'm like, holy fuck, dude, that is a lot. Your artist deserves a raise.
Yep. Well, you heard him, guys. And the other thing that I was gonna say is, are you going? This is kind of like more of a personal question. Are you going to have like so you said the game kind of splits and you're going to need like multiple playthroughs to play the game. Are you going to have like a part where she can be made a slave and she goes with like the typical slave outfit, the minimalistic stuff? You could make the potato bag, the potato sack come afterwards. Like, well, at least it covers better than that.
Yeah. There was two major routes, and then there is a dark route planned.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a route that is going to have a little bit darker undertones that does involve some of that, but I think at this point it's more of, I'm just going to focus on the two primary routes,
right,
and run with those, and then once I get it done, add in this is one of the things I've learned as through my time and my multiple kind of procrastination and failures and things, is kind of I need to kind of narrow my scope and just get a start to finish product done, and then add to it after the fact. So I do want to add a darker route to it, but it would not be in the initial one. And I will say one other game mechanic that I stole a little bit was, I don't know if you played the Witcher games.
I played the third one. Well, I love the storytelling, but the battling became kind of repetitive.
I agree. But I really liked Witcher 2, and I really liked one aspect of Witcher 2, that as you're playing through it, the second act is completely different. So if you side with one side, you go to a completely different area, mm-hmm, and go through a completely different story, context, whatever. And if you side with another side, you go to another area. Like the map, the town, everything is different.
It's essentially a different game.
Yeah, my mind was blown when I saw that. So the two paths in Alias story was like Cavadan and Trellian are the two major powers in the area. If you side with Cavadan, Zalran, the main city, expands differently. So it's not going to be to the level of Witcher by any means. I don't have the ability to do that. But the way the town expands, and the way the kind of comes back from being kind of run down, is different than if you side with Trellian. The way the town, like the people, the mayor becomes different. So you'll have different characters in there. And I've come to the point, like as I've designed this, I can actually make this happen, because it's still the same map. It's just going to have like contextual differences within it and in different characters, but it will give you a different experience. And that was the third core mechanic I was going to bring up earlier that I really wanted to put into place, was how can I do kind of a similar idea, not nearly to the level that Witcher did it, because I can't feasibly do that as a solo developer, but I can do it in the way that your choice will matter, and you will see the impact of your choice on how the town expands and changes. Now, The Witcher 2, when it came to the third act, it all came back together. So your middle part was different, but the third act was, no matter which side you chose, you went to the third act, and it would be the same act. But the dialogue and stuff would vary, and that's what I want to do with this game as well. Is yes, the middle part of the game, the town will be different, but it's going to kind of seam together as Zalran really comes back and becomes a flourishing town again. When it comes back together, the ending kind of sequence will still be bringing it back together, so I can make a cohesive main story with the ending options that I want to have in place. So I wanted to weave it in that fashion, and I've like written a shit, so like written a shit ton. That amount of planning that went into trying to get that in place is a lot. I just need to get it in the game now and kind of get some of the artwork stuff done. But I mean, I have freaking shit ton of documents and things with kind of writing and planning and this stuff together. I've used I actually haven't gotten into it in a while because I've been doing artwork a lot more. But let me pull it up here real quick. The name's escaping me because I don't even really pay attention to the name. Development tool.
Is it like a workflow program?
Artisy Draft. Yep. And I've used that a lot to kind of.
I dropped that one really fast.
Yeah, it's great.
I dropped it.
As I said, I don't even like use the look at the name anymore. I just open it up.
Dude, I just moved to Notepad++. Honestly, it's so much stuff that trying to create, like, at some point you'll realize that it's better to just get like content in bulk than it is to make it look really good. Like having some sort of like organization is obviously is important, but at some point the amount of content is just so massive. But so massive. I just have most of the writing stuff on different documents on Notepad++. I only use Notepad++ for work, and this is like for this route, for this game, for this scene, for this whatever, and I just have a bunch of it like right over there because I used to use Artisy Draft and try to make everything like look pretty and like a flow and whatnot. Dude, it's way too much work. Dude, for the amount of content that I dish out, it's not worth it.
I will tell you right now that there's no way in hell that my game is going to have the amount of scenes that your game has. It's not going to happen. I can't even feasibly imagine getting that much work done to get that many scenes in there. It's going to have hopefully a decent amount of scenes, but I'm hoping that the core philosophy is maybe a little more manageable, because I think you had a lot of scenes to manage, and then managing the dialogue in those scenes because you had so many, and then you have different like
I was young and dumb.
Set like different outfits, and you have different like she can be tan, she cannot be tan. I mean, there's like, it's from a player standpoint, it's fucking fabulous. From a developer standpoint, man, your game makes my head hurt. Like I'm looking at your game and I'm like,
me too.
Fuck me. It's like no way in hell I could like keep track of all the shit that he's got going on in this game and try to like make it work. I need to have a more, I don't say I would want, I would say I need to have a more concise experience than that, because otherwise I can't even get what I have right now done and playable. So trying to add like that level of choice and things is just, I just can't see it as being feasible for me. I would die.
Honestly, like again, like I said, I was young and dumb, dude. If someone told me, hey man, can you remake Fleeting Iris nowadays and start from scratch and do all that work, I'll be like, you're fucking crazy. That's not feasible at all. Like whoever told you that's feasible is fucking lying. And yet the game is there. I honestly can say it was a good team that was very passionate, and that's pretty much what drove it home. And a bunch of cool supporters, man. Like we had a lot of people that supported us from the sidelines and kept us going. Do you have any visual representation of corruption? For instance, I have in my it's one of the games that I haven't announced yet. It's when all these games that I'm working on are finished. But I'm going to have one character where initially she was going to be kind of an elf, and as she grew more corrupted, she will become like more dark elf. So her hair will start graying out, and her skin will start getting darker. But then I decided to go with the only visual representation you have for corruption in the game is her eyes. So she has some sort of like a heterochromia, where one eye can be red and one eye can be blue, which means the character is kind of balanced. But if she starts going more into the chaotic side, both her eyes become red, and if she starts going onto the good side, both her eyes become blue. So it's kind of like a visual representation of corruption. And I was wondering if Elia's story has something on that regard. Does she become a dark elf at some point, only for endings? Is there any visual representation of her corruption? How does it work?
She does have visual representation. So she has multiple standing portraits. She has variations of those standing portraits. She has her high pride. People want to not call it pride, but initially it was high pride, where she's not corrupt at all, and she has a specific stance, and how she kind of carries herself.
Oh.
With the peasant dress, it's only two. It's high pride and low pride, but with the other outfits, there was three levels, and then she can actually at some point walk around in just her underwear. And when she's in just her underwear, then there's actually a stance where she's walking around, but her hands are covering herself, her arms are across her breasts, and then as she gets more corrupt, then she's no longer doing that. In battle, she has two stances. One is when she gets exploited, she's fighting with her hand across her breasts, and the second one, when she's more corrupt, she no longer is doing that because she's comfortable enough to just fight, hanging out.
Great mechanic.
So the way her standing portraits are. Absolutely matter in terms of corruption. That's probably the primary mechanic of seeing kind of how she changes. And
kind of reflects her mind state.
I wanted to have her be able to walk around naked because I fucking love that shit in games. I'll be honest. So, and I will say,
but anywhere, are you gonna have it anywhere, or like she's able to go naked
anywhere,
at night?
buddy. She's gonna be able to walk around fucking in her underwear.
Commando everywhere.
She probably won't walk around fully naked. I don't know, but I know that she'll be able to walk around topless and. I will say 100%, everybody's going to react to that. So
that's really nice.
I hate when you do that in a game and you're walking around and it's like they're just talking to you normal. No, that ain't happening. People are going to be reacting.
That's
to that.
a lot of work.
I'm probably most excited to get.
I'm
most excited to get to that point in the game development. I want to get there because that shit to me is like that's hot. I've got a ton of scenes written around that, and I'm just like I need to push through and get to that point, so I can start putting. Once I think the payoff will be fabulous.
Hopefully it's far enough,
get
though.
through this stuff, when the stuff starts happening, like really happening, and the corruption really kicks in. I mean, for me personally, it'll be freaking exciting. Now, I need to get through those things because I don't. If I just went to that point, it doesn't carry the same magnitude as kind of working up to it. One game that's not perfect by any means. But actually has like a really slow build up and then the payoff gets pretty damn good is I think it was like Star Nitrous Aura, whatever. I played that one and there's things about it I don't like, but they do have a really slow build up, and then when things start happening, it was like, oh damn, this gets much more exciting now that things are stopped happening. But that was more of a building a bimbo type of a game, which I didn't love that aspect. Like I don't want Aelia to really become a bimbo in that regard. Right. But that slow build up and that payoff was pretty freaking sweet, and I want to capture that in this game. So the corruption is going to be shown in that, and it's going to be shown in the standing portraits. Like I already have the standing portraits done and drawn for the battle, for the peasant dress. Like that stuff is done, so I'm not work-wise. I'm not as worried about that. And then I already have the topless stuff drawn too because I drew that shit first because that was most exciting. So I probably will tweak it at some point when I actually gets put in game, but I've got the standing portraits all in place to hopefully get to a point where this can be used.
I'm curious because you said. Sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
I was going to ask since you mentioned the corruption and you want to get to those parts eventually, but soon you said. Where do you lie on the balance? Because some people are going to be like. There's obviously some people that don't want that slow burn. There's always people, especially once they start playing the game, they just want to see more and more and more. And at some point, there's kind of like a line between how fast you want to deliver the scenes for the game not to be like too drawn out, and there has to be a balance between how early you start doing some stuff and how slow you want the corruption to be, right? And there's obviously people at both sides of the spectrum. There's people that want, I want her to be corrupted, but I want her to be corrupted fast so I can see a lot of scenes. And there's people that are like, oh man, the slower the better. Like I really want it to be drawn out. I want to be able to see the character feel corrupted and debate herself and struggle against her own instincts. Where do you feel like your game falls in this? Because obviously there's a financial part, and you have your Patreon on pause, so that is already a huge chunk out of the way. But in terms of your personal choice, where do you feel your game lies in between those two spectrums?
It's a slow burn, and I this is one thing that has changed over time as I've doing this. Originally, I talked with people that were interested in the game, and I said I'm going to put choice in, and you're going to have the choice to do this when you want to do this, and and I've come to realize that one, I just can't. I'm not going to get the game done if I try to do that. It's going to be a slow burn, and it's gonna take a while to get to her being corrupt enough to do like crazy stuff frequently, but from the get-go, I wanted to have content to engage the player all the way through. So I mean, it starts out with her topless. You see boobs like 2 minutes into the game, you see her boobs. You see the butt scene in the caves. You can like slap her ass. And there are things I want to have those scenes, even if she's not on her knees doing like pleasing a guy, or even if she's not freaking getting screwed. Um, there's still going to be content like kind of eshy content to get you there where you're still going to see nudity. You're still going to see her in situations that are erotic. So I want to have that build up slow, but I don't want to have you go through long periods of time where you get nothing. I want payoff consistently throughout, but the payoff, so the scenes might be less. They might be very minor scenes, or they might just be you saw her ass or you saw her tits again, that kind of stuff to get you there. Now, I had told people about the choice stuff, and I've realized since that one, I kind of want her to have her personality in the game that she's just not going to do it. Like if somebody wants to screw her at that point in her corruption cycle, she's like, fuck no, I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to put the player choice in to have her do that because one, I don't want to write the scene, and two, it just becomes too much of an artwork request to do that. So I've come to terms over the past couple of years that I have to limit choice, and I have to create a character that has some personality on her own, that she's just not going to do some shit. And that's just is what it is. Now, one thing with that I don't like in games, and the Princess of Zevin does this, and this was probably my biggest complaint about it, is you have to do all the scenes to move the corruption meter high enough to do the next set of scenes. And I don't want that in this game. So I want her to be able to expand in corruption, but if there's like some old bastard who wants to screw her and it's not your jam, you're like, I don't like the way this dude is treating her. I don't like the this whole setup. I don't want to fucking do this scene. You don't have to, because it's not going to be required in the corruption. There's not going to be a corruption meter in that term that's going to be like you have to do all 5 scenes to get to the 75 corruption that now you've unlocked blowjobs, or now you've unlocked sex. I don't want that to be the case. So there will be player choice to turn down scenes that they don't like what that makes their character or their view of what she is. Um, and then actually the other thing is there was a scene that I put in Hunter's Quest, which was the game I translated, that somebody brought up, and it was a really good point from a person that played it. Was like there was a scene where there was this dude who was treating his dad like shit, and then she like helps his dad, and this was a scene I added in there, and she helps his dad, and the guy's like, I'll only do this if you like show me your breasts, and the guy's like the person that made the comment was like, this pissed me off because this dude was treating his dad like shit, and then I had to do this on top of it. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I should have given you the choice and told him to fuck off. And so in the game, I took that piece of criticism, and I said, I'm not going to do that in my game. I'm going to give the player the choice to say, I don't like this person. I'm not going to fucking reward him. Fuck him. And I wanted her to be strong enough as like her character to have the confidence as well. Like she's not a bimbo. Like she is willing to stand up for herself and say, "No, you're an asshole. I'm not gonna fucking do it." So, there'll be ramifications to that. It might make certain things harder in the game, but you can do it. That makes sense?
It makes sense. It makes sense that it's twice the work.
It is. Well, I mean, in that regard, there's not gonna be a separate scene. So if you turn it down, I won't have to
Right.
do artwork. It would just be a matter of writing dialogue, which I feel like writing dialogue around a scene is much easier than creating a whole separate scene.
Yeah, you kind of cut off the character in that regard.
Yeah, yeah. You can cut off the characters, but I just need to make it so that the corruption meter. I mean, there has to be behind the scenes. You have to have some kind of a corruption meter that keeps track of shit, just for like to make it work. But I don't want the corruption meter basically to be so specific that you need the exact amount of points that these 5
Right.
scenes give you to get to the next point is really what it matters. There'll be extra points, so then you are able to skip stuff if you want.
Well, that kind of ties in with the next question. It's kind of like a segue. What role does the audience feedback, especially from early access or Patreon supporters or itch.io supporters that you have, play in shaping the final content of the game? Are there any boundaries you won't cross based on fan requests? You already mentioned that scatology and water sports are a big no-no. But in terms of like story or mechanics, how much are you willing to adjust depending on supporter feedback?
Oh, I have my vision, so I change some things minor, but if somebody brings up a comment that I completely think that's a great comment, I add it. And as I said, I made the change based on one comment. I've had I've had supporters that have written like whole stories, like whole scenes, and I've taken them and I said, that's actually a pretty damn good idea. I'm going to jot down the concepts here and I'll probably put that in place. Now I do have a tier supporting on Patron that was the really high tier that rewarded you with the ability to create a scene. I've since realized that that's not really feasible. So eventually, that's just, I mean, I got the people that are supporting it right now. They're not paying because nobody's paying. But when paying actually starts again, I'm going to do away with that tier, and anybody who's paid will get their scene. But I can't, um, I can't. I just it was just too much. Like it's just too much to try to create a scene. It's, even though it's like $50 to do that, $50 in the grand scheme of thing is like chump change for the amount of work that's involved in trying to create a entire scene. So I went in with a little bit of naivety or in terms of like, oh, hey, this level of support is going to be like crazy. Somebody supports me this much, I'll give them a entire scene of their choice. And as I started putting this game together, I'm like, holy shit, there's no way I can do that. Um, and I've tailored it to the point where I said, okay, it has to be limited in some aspects. If you support it for multiple months, then it could be this level. But even now, it's like I'm just going to cut that out and obviously uh, pay give the people that actually paid for that their money's worth. But I can't going forward. I can't probably add that in. So I think the feedback is going to be as people offer feedback. If I agree with it, I'll add it in. If they offer scene ideas and suggestions, I will take them seriously, and I've already taken them seriously and kind of taken the kind of different aspects. I will tweak their scene to fit what I kind of would envision it to be. Um, there's a lot of horny bastards out there, and they have some good ideas. So I mean, let's be honest. I can't think of everything. So as people give me suggestions, I'm like, fuck yeah, it's a great idea. I'm gonna run with that. But yeah, the crazy content, I doubt I would like delve into some of the more niche fetishes. It's not really my thing. But if somebody does something, I mean, I've you start going into like some sections of the internet, man. There's some crazy shit going out there that is about as far from vanilla as possible. You were talking about doing research for your DLC. I mean, there's some crazy fucking dark holes on the internet of stuff of content that I'm like, I can't be writing scenes like that and doing stuff. It's just not. I don't see any interest in it.
Been there than that. I mean, if I actually gave the people the chance to actually build their own scene, I will charge like $1,000 for it right now because people have no idea how much work goes into it.
Oh my God. Yeah, the $50 thing was like super naive at the time. I'm like, oh,
Yep.
this is gonna be great, and I'm like looking at it, I'm like, holy shit, you can't even commission a single picture for fifty
It's
dollars.
not.
That's
It's not
worth
a
a
work.
damn.
It's not a day of work in there. $50 is like a day of work at best, and it's not a.
Yes,
It's not a day of work.
it's not feasible.
You're easily putting like 3 4 days of work into creating one scene.
Oh God, yeah, it's a lot of work.
Well, you mentioned that you have your vision, but how far out did you plan Alia's story right now? Like, are you constantly
Well,
pivoting based on immediately market trends, or are you executing like a locked in vision from the get go that will take years to fully realize?
it's pretty fucking locked in now. Now, initially, when I first released it, and many years ago, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna write this as I go. I've got my basic plan in place, and this is like the core ideas behind it, and I'm just gonna like the scenes are just gonna write themselves. I'm gonna have her in this situation. It's gonna be stuff that can happen, and I'm just gonna write, and it'll be great." Yeah, that didn't happen, and over the years, I've realized that you need to be organized. Well, I mean, not everybody, maybe not everybody, but I need to be organized. I need to have a pretty concrete skeleton in place. I now know, and I mean, I've had 10 freaking years to put this shit together, so I know how it starts. I know what Act 2 is going to be. I know what Act 3 is going to be. I have it written down kind of how things go. I know what 3 endings are available. I have the skeleton of the game written. I have the stuff in place. I don't have like minor scenes, so especially the exploration stuff that is involved. Those I will continue to write as I go, but at this point, it's a very fleshed out product, start to finish, that really just needs me to continue to create maps, which doing parallax and trying to do good maps, which doing good maps in RPG Maker takes some fucking time, especially if you're kind of like nitpicky and really want to put stuff in there. And then do the maps, do the artwork, kind of programming was a really big hurdle. Just because I tried to do it on my own and I couldn't find good programmers to I couldn't find good programmers to explain what I wanted. So, but I finally got people that'll do it. But yeah, long-term vision, I have it very planned out now. I did not have it very planned out going in. I want to create another game after this. When I create another game after this one, I already have like good plans in place, and I'm going to spend some time and organize the shit out of it before I start because that seems to be what works for me. So.
When you create the maps, it's kind of like a side question because of what he said. Do you do you have the story into account? Like, do you create like some specific alleyway on in a specific manner, or I don't know, like a closet where conveniently people fit in there? Do you do that when you're when you're drawing the map, or you kind of draw it and then adapt as you are trying to put the game into, the story into the game?
I do a little bit of both. Like when I make the maps, I do try to make it make sense. So if you're in RPG Maker, you have to like change, like it can't be completely real. I mean, I guess it could be, but I never found a way to make it very well completely real. But I want like building shapes to match. So if you go in a building, I want it to look the same shape as it was outside, even though it's going to be bigger. I do put things in there that kind of like character-wise, like when they move, it makes sense in that regard. But I do like, and I brought this up earlier, I like, there's a word for it and it's escaping me, but I like world building. It's like, I think it's called passive world building. I like to put things in the map that tell a story but don't have dialogue. So when you go into the mayor's house, in some of that stuff will be relevant later, but when you go into the mayor's house, if you look in his bedroom, there's actually a art easel there, and later on the dude draws. Now he doesn't draw very well, but you can guess kind of what he likes to draw. So, and in fact, I even drew on the art easel, you can see 2 boobs on the art easel. So like I do have things when I'm building maps, I try to put content in the maps that I know I'm going to use for an event later. And so even like outside in the forested areas, like there'll be like the remnants of a campfire. I put that there to build the world, but also because I know I'm going to use it for an event later. So and I'll use it to kind of like build events around it. Maybe they'll camp there later or something like that. So if that's what you're looking for, I do have minor details in that, but I kind of like set up the overall idea of what it's going to look like, and then I put in the main buildings, and then I kind of put in the little details as I go, and try to make it make sense from an RPG viewpoint and standpoint.
Spoiler alert: he's gonna ask Kalia to pose for him.
Yeah. There will be at some point.
So I guess this is the $1 million question. So it's kind of like advice to aspiring devs. So if someone was listening to the podcast right now and they wanted to start their own adult game project, what is the single most important piece of non-technical philosophical advice that you could give them?
Start small. I read. I don't know how many. I don't know how many.
Yeah, don't be a
things I
dumbass
read
like
that
me.
said. I don't know how many things I read that told me to start small, and I said, "Fuck that! I'm gonna do this. I'm not gonna start small." Blah 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 blah. I'm gonna make my masterpiece. Holy shit, dude! If I had just made a fucking small game that was like really limited in scope, it would be done. I would have built from it. I would have learned from it. My artwork on the next one would have been I wouldn't have, like, it would have, being that this story was so big in scope, was I had so much growth as I went through it that I had to go back and change things because it just simply didn't look right. And then obviously the engine changed with VX Ace. I always wanted to have it be bigger. 640 by 480 drove me crazy. So when MV came out, I'm like, I got to make this change because that's
Right.
my biggest complaint. Because VX Ace was that I couldn't put the size I wanted in there, and there was like some thing you could add into it, module you could add into it, but it didn't really work very well. But I looked into that. But so then I had to basically redo everything there because tile sets were different and all that other shit. The programming didn't work anymore. But yeah, start small, get a thing done. Even if it's a fucking single island where it's like one little town and one little dungeon, just put something out and get it done, start to finish, and then go from there. Your masterpiece has time. If you want to write your masterpiece on the side, I've seen devs that are successful with multiple projects. Maybe that can be you. Just kind of like jot down and start organizing your second game. But truly, I cannot stress enough that don't try to create your masterpiece from the get-go. You will probably fail. I'm actually remarkably shocked that your game was completed start to finish because you're doing what I'm saying not to do. Like starting with such a fucking huge game to start with
No, I
really is
agree with
not
you.
what you should do.
I agree with you. It was the
100%.
dumbest fucking shit.
Um, but I'm a dedicated bastard in terms of I don't drop shit, so I'm gonna finish this fucking game. I know it's been 10 years and people are like, bullshit, he's not gonna finish this game, and I'm gonna finish the game. Like I put so much time and effort into it, it's getting done. Now I might be an old ass man when I do it, but I'm gonna get this fucking thing done, barring me like
He's on a
health-wise
sunk cost
falling apart.
fallacy at this point.
But but no, I mean I want to do it. Like I'm not even just doing it because I feel the need to get it done. Like I truly want to get this done. I have the story, I have some of the stuff written, some of the scenes written. I'm like, God damn, these are gonna be so good when players play them. I really want people to play this game. But some of truly the thing, I guess the other piece of advice is you have to you have to find discipline to do the shit you don't like, or build a team. I probably I definitely would have been much better building a team later in the past because having that extra person to hold you accountable is important.
Right.
But for me, like I will get to a point in the game where development's moving right, and I'm like, fuck, I have to get this battle programming shit done because I can't really input this stuff until it's in there. And then a week will pass, 2 weeks pass, 3 weeks, 4 weeks will pass because I'm on this stupid programming thing that I fucking can't figure out, and it's driving me crazy, and I'm not getting anything done but trying to figure this thing out where I'll just stop working on it because I get tired of that. But you have to have the discipline to do those tough parts or commission it out. And I should have probably commissioned out earlier, but I didn't. I struggled to find reliable people that actually wanted to work with RPG Maker that could do what I wanted them to do. And I spent so much time looking through the different plugins, and then trying to figure those out on my own. I have a pretty strong background on computers, but it's a different beast to try to figure some of this stuff out. So start small, make a pretty straightforward project, get it done, learn from it, and then build better things. If you want to build a bigger thing, form a team. There's people out there to do that. You can form a team. There's challenges with that too, though. There's a lot of unreliable people out there, but at least it'll get you started. That's probably my biggest. You're definitely gonna underestimate how much work's involved. You can't know. Like there's no fucking way you can know until you've like tried to make a game just how much work goes into making a game. That's why I can look at like your game and be like, holy shit, I know what went into that, and I know how much work's involved. So I mean, that's kind of you're gonna learn that, and if you start smaller, you're more likely to not fail.
Well, being the person who actually created Fleeting Hours, and obviously any dev that picks up the game and realizes that there's like million of lines of dialogue in there, and the crazy amount of work that it almost seems impossible that only 4 people put that game together, puts me on a better place than anyone to say his advice is the best advice that anyone could give you. There are still people today that say bullshit, there's no way 4 people did that, and there's a lot of stuff that we did on Fleeting Hours that a lot of people said it was impossible to do, not just on the scope but literally on the stuff that we did on RPG Maker. It all seems great in the end, and I still think that it was a terrible idea. First of all, because we just finished Fleeting Hours and I'm already thinking about doing a remake. Why? Well, if I listen to Yummy or people that said the same shit as, you know, I listened to the same thing. Start small, and I was like, no, dude, I have a great idea, and I know I'm a hard worker, so I'm going to be able to eventually release it. But the thing is, it's your first project. you're going to be bad at it. A lot of the stuff that I did back then, I look at it now and I'm like, man, that's trash. And now I want to remake Fleeting Hours because I evolved a lot as a developer. And if I started small, yeah, if I, I start small. Well, now we have AI. AI. AI is going to evolve to the point where it kind of can transform some. You need to come up with obviously a bunch of intellectual property, right? You need to actually draw it, but then eventually AI will be able to emulate it to where people can even tell the difference between one and the other, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say you could be taught. It can't do that yet, but you could definitely train a Laura and like if you have enough of your artwork to put in there, make your style, and the AI does a pretty damn good job. That's actually one of the things.
It's going to get close, but it never emulates perfectly.
Well, so that actually one of the things that has improved my development process is I'm not putting like final AI product in, but one of the challenges is with a non-artistic background is, let's say I want to have Alia in a fight scene attacking somebody.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of time I spent creating the body pose and posturing and everything else was insane. I've trained Alora now. I can have an AI turn out an image with the AI is going to put in the right body proportions, and then I can use that as a reference, which now I'm not tracing somebody else's work. I have a reference piece that I can use that is similar to my style. It's not going to be a perfect match, so I would never put it in my project. Because
you're kind of tracing your own work.
Look right. But yes, I'm like using that, like, oh, this is a fighting stance that makes sense. I can turn out like 20 pictures and look really quickly and say, okay, this fighting stance makes sense. I can now use that, tweak it. I'll draw it myself. But the amount of time saved and just not having to freaking try to put a stance together and figure out how big is the head in this position and how big is her upper body and how does it like look. The AI does that is amazing for that. And I don't know, maybe that's a I know people are super against AI, so maybe that's a mistake, but that has shaved off days with each image, because that early part of trying to like with a non-artistic background, trying to pose your character accurately. Usually I had to look online and find shit, but you can't find posing stuff as easily for the things you want. The AI can do it just with prompting and then draw your own stuff. That's been a great thing, and I think the game is stronger for it. I've looked back at some of the other stuff in like different poses, like when she's leaning over in the prologue, her head is too big, and it always drove me crazy. But I was able to put that into AI and redo it, and I was able to reshape the head, and now I'm way more satisfied with it. It's still my artwork. I drew it, but I figured out, okay, the head actually in this particular pose should be this size, not as big as I had made it.
Yeah,
so that kind of stuff has been really nice.
AI really helps there. Even if it's like you draw some breasts and you're like, dude, there's something off about them, and then you just go to AI, hey man, what is wrong with these breasts? Can you draw them in a way that makes sense? And then you just go to your CG team, see, this was the mistake, and they were like, oh, okay, we're gonna try and draw something along those lines and not what we did before. It happens, but that's the point. Like, you are going to improve so much. They're trying to deliver your masterpiece at the first time. It's never going to be a masterpiece, because the moment you finish it, it's going to be dated, even by your perspective, right? So that 100%, dude. Like, even after creating Fleeting Hours, I will 100% say start small, because first of all, if you make something too big, it's gonna suck your will to leave. I honestly don't know how we were able to create Fleeting Hours, dude. It should be, by any metric, it should be like almost impossible to create. It was such a dumb undertaking, and for in one thing I'm happy I did it, but on the other hand, I wish I made the game a lot smaller, and I started working on other games a lot younger than I did, especially because at some point the game kind of like ran its course, and we were still trying to finish the thing that we envisioned early on. To just for the sake of like being able to deliver the whole thing. I will definitely say start small, make a game that is like 12 to 15 scene stops, and then improve a little bit on the drawing, get used to dishing out work, and maybe by your third, fourth game, you can finally decide that I'm still feeling in shape, I'm still feeling sharp, I still have a lot of ideas. Let me try to do my masterpiece now. I 100%
Yeah.
stand by what Yummy said. And the other thing that he said, like, good help is incredibly hard to find because you need to find people that are both nice people to work with and second competent. So those two things are not very common, believe it or not. So yeah, dude, like 100%. I think your suggestion is like one of the best suggestions that you can give anyone. It's start small, make something that is doable, and then go from there.
Yep, I agree. It's not a new suggestion either, but it's people because I
It's
think it's
not.
probably
People
the
told it
big
to
advice.
us.
It's the big advice that people keep saying, and don't be so stubborn you don't listen to it. I don't know what to tell you. You're probably people that are aspiring developers are probably still going to make the same mistake. I think it's probably the most common thing that I see. The game will peter out and then it'll end. It'll just
Yeah.
be abandoned. But I mean,
Yeah,
I
don't.
guess you might as well keep saying it over and over again because maybe somebody will listen and then they'll do it. The other bonus is you get a complete project, which
Right.
in this particular genre, having a start to finish complete project is a rarity for an indie developer. So that gives you some credibility that I feel like if you want to monetize future stuff, you can be like, hey, look, this is actually I have 1 or 2 games that are done. Yeah, they're not the most amazing thing, but I had the discipline to start it, maintain the scope, finish it, and put it out. And that's more than anybody can say about me. I don't got that. So that gives you a level of credibility that I feel like maybe people will want to contribute and support your project more.
Yeah, 100%. And even as being an outlier, I tell you, follow the rule. Don't try to be the outlier. It's horrible. It's horrible. Just follow. Like, people tell you that stuff for a reason because everybody thinks they're the exception, and then they end up being the rule. What we did was dumb. Don't try to be the outlier. Just follow the rules. Start small. Do something simple. Put a lot of work into it, and also listen to all the other suggestions that Yummy gave you regarding having discipline, working on stuff that you love. All those things, they might seem small, but they quickly add up to a successful project.
Agreed.
Finally, how can your listeners reach out to you? How can they find out more about your projects? Can you give us your links for itch.io and for Patreon? If you want, I can put them on the chat for people to see.
That would be nice.
Well,
Patron was the primary one from the get go, which is just patron.com / YummyTiger.
So this should be
and I will say that.
And what's for itch.io? It's mostly or it's mostly. Oh.
Page.
And I'm gonna
I
put
don't
them.
think I know it off the top of my. I just clicked on the link. Hold on a second.
Let me try to do this right away. So, oh.
Yeah, I'm just gonna look it up real quick. I don't know if I know the exact. There it is. Yep, it's YummyTiger. It's YummyTiger Gaming, all together. .itch.io.
Oh, so it's the other way around. So give me a second. How do I edit this? No, this. How do I edit this? There we go. YummyTiger Gaming.
YummyTiger Gaming. .itch.io. Yep. And that, if you just want to follow it and don't want to like subscribe, then that is the easiest way. There, I right now I'm just posting the most recent versions up there. Now at some point I am gonna stop doing that and put stuff to Patron, but I mean there's nothing really to post at this point that's new from a year or two ago. So in terms of released content, but it will be if you're interested in like actively following and talking to me, then you can subscribe on Patron, and then you get the Discord invite, and you can. I mean, I'm on Discord most days, so I do actually interact. It's kind of not as much talking recently because there's not a whole lot of stuff going on, but I make friends and talk to people, and it's fine. So yeah, that's probably the best way. And then given the history of the game, I would say put it on a follow notification thing, and then on itch.io, if you ever get an email that says, hey, this has been updated, you can be like, oh sweet, he actually released something, I can go play it. and that's probably I would not recommend my game as be one that you follow on a daily basis because you're going to get frustrated, as people have gotten. I've got amazing supporters who have stuck with me through all this stuff, to kind of still give me support despite the fact that I've made many promises and not followed through on them. Not because of lack of effort. I just there's so much work going into a game that I underestimate, and then I nitpick and go back and recreate, and it's a learning process. If I had done a smaller game and completed it, I would have started this project differently, and I think things would have been a lot smoother. But development's in a pretty good spot right now, so we'll hopefully see where it ends up.
For my birthday, for sure.
Yeah, it won't be by your birthday because I'm leaving town for 2 weeks, so it will not.
Well, at least you know when my birthday is. That's fucking crazy.
I do, because I promised it 1 or 2 times.
That's kind of like an inside joke, guys.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, I 100%. I wish that you eventually get to release the game, because I'm super excited to play it as a developer, but also as a player. Yeah, I mean, as usual, it was an absolute pleasure to chat with you. I can't wait for your game to actually be out there so I can try it. Everybody else, if you guys want to follow Yummy, do show up, and if anyone wants to become a dev, I hope those suggestions and the story do tell you something. Yeah, man, anything else you want to leave with the
Thank
crew?
you for having me. I appreciate it, and it was good talking to you. So
yeah, same,
hopefully,
dude.
I want people to play the game. So don't give up. I don't, as I said, don't follow it on a daily basis. Just let me work. I think me just kind of taking a step back from Patron and just kind of letting that thing sit on the side while I just kind of work when I can is not the fastest process, but it keeps the passion going a little bit for me. But that's not for everybody. But so all I will say is I am a dedicated bastard. So I have plans to push through and actually get this thing done at some point in my life. But I do appreciate this conversation. It was good.
Yeah, me too, man.
It
like
inspired me to work right after this interview. So I'm gonna start drawing some.
I was actually thinking that, man. I was like, listen, I hope Yummy finishes this and is like, man, I feel re-energized. I feel refired. And listen,
I mean, I'm pretty energized right now. So
if I can give you one suggestion, okay, and this is not like, see, I created 2 games and I'm already creating 2 more, so you should listen to me. It's not like, it's more like we started more or less at the same time. We had like the same kind of like bring up in terms of like anti and it honestly, we've been through the whole forum and the whole change in the whole paradigm shift on the anti games and being mostly like a Eastern thing, and now becoming like huge in the West and whatnot, and the whole Patreon saga. It feels like you were always there. So if there's like one suggestion that I can give you is like, don't try to release something that makes up for all the years that you didn't release something. I'm gonna give you the same suggestion that you give other people. Start small. Like, if you made some progress, it's better to put out some progress and be like, see guys, it's here, and then work on some more progress. Because one of my biggest mistakes was always trying to, like, it's having life happen, me getting sick, my parents dying, my father getting cancer, my mother getting a neurodegenerative disease, and having to go through that, and then trying to make up for all the time that you weren't able to put out work. And I felt devastated, and the more I felt devastated, the less I will work on the game, because I was like, dude, I'm so far behind. How am I going to make up for the lost time? You don't, bro. You just put something out. And
that's really good advice, and I agree with you. I think one hang up with that is I actually have like scenes written, artwork in place, and I want to get to that scene for the release because it's done. Like, the scene is done, and it's a really good scene. I'm like, man, I just want to get there, but because of how I'm designing the game with like the progression and like, I have to get that middle stuff in place to get it there, and that has been one of the hang-ups. But I agree, like, in to go to your point, honestly, if the past 10 years, if I had just released small chunks, of shit that I had done if I had done it on a bi-monthly basis or every 3 months or whatever, even if it was like a scene or two.
Yeah.
Do you know how much money I would have right now? Like,
Yeah.
I would have so much more support. I would have so much more money. You don't need the big releases. People just want to see progress.
Right.
And so if you release these small things, I would be in a much better spot in terms of like standing, credibility, everything else that goes with that. But I didn't do that. I had like this idea of what these releases were going to be, and I talked a big game, and it was fucking bullshit because I couldn't pull it off. And then you kind of get in quicksand. Like, you couldn't
Right.
pull it off, but then you're like, oh, I'm going to make up for it next one. But then you sink deeper in quicksand. You sink deeper. I have come to the wisdom through all the years of failures that you're right. I just need to release shit, and I release smaller chunks. And I did have very concrete things of what I needed to have in the next release, and that was a working UI, a working battle system, and I wanted to have the status screen and the hentai status
That
screen
one sucks so
in
much.
the game. I have that now, so those major components. I think I just got the status screen stuff in December. Commissioned it because I didn't like what was available. I mean, there was like a Japanese script that was out, a plugin that was out there that I tried to make work, but I just end up having a programmer do it who is actually selling it, selling the plugin. It's Hakuin Studios. So honestly, it's a really good status screen plugin. It's got tons of options, and if you're like interested, it's worth looking at because it gives you a lot of customization and pages you can do in the status screen that you can kind of create it however you want. So I was surprised. I didn't think there was really good options for like creating a character status screen that available, especially for like adult games. There's like one Japanese script that like I guess like Triacone or something like that like everybody uses, but I didn't think it covered the stuff I really wanted it to.
Yeah, definitely what I think it was the biggest thing in my game that I was like, man, this is gonna fucking suck to make. Was the like the main menu and the sub menus in the status screen. Those I was like, dude, like these are gonna require so much fucking manual work that I can't do, because that's the thing that terrifies me the most is the parts of developing a game that I can't do myself.
User interface, man. User interface.
Yes, Jesus.
If
But
if
the
it's
thing
not
is,
done well, you notice it. If it's done well, it's like players don't even pay attention to that shit until. But if
but
it's
I
done
created
poorly, they're
I
like,
created a
"Oh,
lot for
fuck."
the game. I created like the front end of them. I can create the front end. It's literally just getting the front end and giving it to someone and be like, now make this work. That's the fucked up part to me. But yeah, listen, and just a suggestion, like if you have some part of the game that you want to release later and it's really cool, what you can do is release something that you have and be like coming in a future patch and then present the other part.
Okay. Yeah. Or just tease it and maybe build some
Yeah,
more,
tease it.
release something, build some credibility, and people get excited again, because I don't think people are that excited right now since it's been so long. But I'm gonna have to rebuild that, kind of release some
Yeah,
stuff.
and I'm giving this suggestion like while people being okay, well, I kind of already released the first version of Journey Abroad, but people are super exciting to play Bloodlust, and I'm like, okay, guys, just a little bit longer, and we are at the last scene, and it's like it's the art, and I can't just put a gun to the artists. They're already working so hard because this scene is so complex. People don't understand how much more how much time you need to invest on end-run stuff other than just doing like the typical AI stuff or 3D CG or whatever people use. People have no idea how much work goes into art. And if it was kind of like, if I was just releasing patches, because I got to the point where, listen, I'm just going to release a patch every month, and some are going to be bigger, some are going to be smaller. Who gives a fuck? At least I'm going to be showing out work. But the thing is, this is going to be the version that we are going to use as kind of like for advertising, because it's going to be the first version. It's going to be the demo. So yeah, it's sucking because I really want to put it out, and it is the demo. Yeah. You need to hit the floor running. But I'm kind of like, oh my god, I wish I even for the demo, like I wish I went a little more kind of like humble or like a little more. I wish I went smaller for the demo, because at least I would have got some shit out, dude. Like, come on, like I need to fucking get this out. Journey Abroad is out. People have played like 2 months ago, and Bloodlust is still kind of like dragging behind. But I hope as soon as this fucking version is out, I'm gonna follow our suggestion, where I just release something every month, dude, because people just want a reason to be invested. People just want something to play. People just want something to sink their teeth in. And then if you like start dragging out, and then you start trying to make up for the time you already lost, it's a snowball.
Yeah, agreed.
Yummy. I hope to see you again. Maybe once you release the first version of the game, we can go through this and we can talk about the game more, like of talk about the game per se and not you as a developer. But I'm sure people will be excited to hear about you again.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And everybody else, make sure you follow patreon.com/YummyTiger and YummyTigerGaming.itch.io. I'll see you guys very, very soon with another Evan Studios podcast. And thank you for joining us. As usual, much love, much fortune, much health. Not necessarily in that order. Take care, guys. See you guys later.
Is I supposed to disconnect that?
寝坊しちゃった思い出したのは君のことです起きて明かり眠くなった忘れたくないのは君